Hello everybody. Welcome to the Syncfusion webinar on Essential Studio for ASP.NET Core. Thank you all so much for joining us. It looks like we've got a great turnout today and we're so excited to share with you this presentation. My name is Whitney Hill. I'm the Video Marketing Specialist here at Syncfusion and I'm your moderator for today's webinar. Presenting the demo today is Chad Church. Chad is a Microsoft Certified Solution Developer and he's been a product manager and sales engineer with Syncfusion for the last 6 years. He serves as a liaison between the developers who create Syncfusion products and the developers who use them. Today he'll do a live demo showing what you can do with Essential Studio for ASP.NET Core, and then we'll address some audience questions during the last 20 minutes. If you have a question at any time during the presentation, please enter it into the question box. We'll answer as many questions as we can at the end of the session, and then anything we don't get to, we'll be sure to answer in the Q&A segment on our blog. The webinar is being recorded, and we'll share the recording in the next few days. All registrants will receive an email with a link, and this and previous webinars are always available on our YouTube channel. So before we begin, I'd like to briefly tell you a bit about what we do at Syncfusion. Syncfusion delivers an extensive range of web, mobile, and desktop controls. We're dedicated to a service-oriented approach throughout the entire application lifecycle. We also offer empowering enterprise solutions, including a dashboard and big data platform. We recently celebrated 15 years of being in business and are headquartered in the Raleigh-Durham area of North Carolina in the United States. More than 12,000 organizations worldwide work with Syncfusion, and we have more than 750,000 users from 125 countries trusting us in their development process, and we're so honored by that. So now that you know a bit more about us, I'll hand over to Chad to demonstrate Essential Studio for ASP.NET Core. And Chad, take it away.
Thank you, Whitney. Your introduction is fabulous as always. So here is my agenda for the webinar. I'm going to introduce ASP.NET Core, do a really high-level overview, create a simple project, and then make the project a bit more interesting. That's it. That's the idea here. So ASP.NET Core, it is cross-platform. It does follow the MVC architecture. And that's very, very high level. Most of us already know that, and we're going to skip on to it. Couple things that you need to know as you're going through this. There's a thing called NPM and Bower. Bower is used on the client. It's used by the core, ASP.NET Core, the project, to manage all the assemblies, manage the packages. NPM is the base that Bower's built on. So NPM is going to need to be installed one time globally for that machine, and then once you do it, you'll not think about it again. So it's not a big thing to worry about, just something to be aware. When you're trying to do stuff that's not working, go back and get your NPM set up properly, and then you'll be good to go. Okay, so now we're going to start a project. It's called ASP.NET Core, and I'm going to call it webinar last. And let's say OK. There's going to be a web application. I'm not hosting this in Azure. I want to keep it local, and so I can play with it and have fun and not worry about all that. Here we go. This is Welcome to ASP.NET Core. This is your home page. This is the README page that comes up when you load this. There's a lot of links in here you can follow and run with it and do different things. For now, for this purpose of this demo, I'm not going to care about that. I am going to go ahead and get started. So we're going to add some NuGet packages. And in the NuGet manager, I have added Syncfusion. So Syncfusion is a NuGet source. You should do that as well. We have a fantastic help online, help.syncfusion.com. And there's directions there in the JavaScript to walk you through setting this up. And let's go here. Let's browse through this. And EJ ASP.NET Core. Let's go ahead and download that. And while that's downloading, I will show you the help file, help syncfusion.com, and JavaScript. And installation and deployment. This is going to walk you through a couple of things. Setting up NuGet, setting up Bower, and setting up NPM. It's all available here for you. You can come read this and then not be as stressed when it comes time to actually do it. Now the core is added. And this is all we need right now to have Syncfusion running in your project. Well, at this point, this is all we need from NuGet is ASP.NET Core. Since I'm going to do something a little bit more interesting later, I want to add a couple more things. I'm going to add Entity Framework. Entity Framework is a very cool, very quick, very easy, no muss, no fuss way to talk to a database. And it comes in a lot of handy, so I'm going to add this here. And maybe if I keep spelling, it will come up for me. And there we go, tools. So let's add this. Tools gives you data context, and the SQL gave me the actual connection bits to the databases. So here we have it, and I think I'm all done. I'm still doing it now. And we are done. So great. NuGet is done. Accomplished. Fantastic. Let's walk down this list again. Root, this is the actual root for the application, where it's going to live. I will be stepping in that shortly. Dependencies, this is Bower. Bower will hold all of these packages. See the nice little wrapped package with a bow on top. And to interact with Bower, I am going to show all files. And then if you look below, the bower.json just appeared. This was new. And let's put a comma here, and let's add Syncfusion. We are registered with Bower. So you just start typing us. Bower will realize that we exist. They'll go and check. It'll find the last version. And all you have to do at this point is save the bower.json. That makes Bower over here go, and it's going to read through the list, and it's going to go and restore all of these packages, make sure they're all up to date, they're all current, they all exist even. And this sometimes takes a few minutes depending upon your data connection. When it's done, I'll show you what it did. So here's the Syncfusion JavaScript. You can step into this package here and look at it. But what it did was put all these packages over here in the root folder. So here's a Syncfusion JSON and the other things, and some of the other things that were in there. So I'll be coming back to this shortly. Now we're ready. We have our JavaScript, we have our CSS, we have our NuGet configured and set up. Let's step in and actually start working with our views. So let's see, views, view imports, not view start, view imports. This is what I wanted to see. Alright, a couple of this is where we are going to tell it to use Syncfusion.javascript. And so now all these views are going to know about this. And there isn't a tag helper that needs to be added. And the nomenclature for that is here. Syncfusion.ej. Okay, so now this is going to give us the IntelliSense in JavaScript, which is a very, very cool thing. Let's go ahead and save this. Okay, so that is set up. The next step is to come into our layout. Layout is something that's been around for a while with MVC. This is it. And what we're going to do to the layout, we're going to come in and add all of our JavaScript controls here. So every page has access to JavaScript controls. And this is where we go back to the root. And go into the root. I don't need to see the properties, do I? Go into the root and select Syncfusion Style Sheets, JavaScript. We're going to drill all the way down into the web. And we do have a collection of discrete controls. You can add these for just because I want to be able to add anything and not think about it. I'm going to grab our entire collection and put them here. Okay. And actually, I think this screen might be a little bit small. Let's make this text a little bit bigger, because some of you have small viewports, and normal size text will look tiny. So we've got our JavaScript controls. Now, it might be a good idea to go ahead and add some style sheets, so these JavaScript controls can draw themselves on the screen and look nice and pretty. And I like the material theme, so we'll add the material theme here. Okay. And our controls, all of our JavaScript controls are based on jQuery. So we do need to have a jQuery reference in existence in the application. Let's put jQuery here. And if you're going to do any templates, any JavaScript templates in any of our controls, we do rely on JS render for that. So let's add JS render up here as well. So all of our scripts are added. Let's go ahead and save everything. And because this is Microsoft, in order for the IntelliSense to be activated, we need to close the file and reopen it. So now it's reopened. Same file, same style sheets here. Couple new things. We have this environment names, these properties here. These are really cool things, or at least I think they're really cool things. They appear to be a replacement for the old web config, swapping out your web config files, whether it's dev, test, or prod. For the purpose of this demo, I don't care about them. They are just taking up real estate, so I will get rid of them. And I'm going to add something that is required. That's our EJ Script Manager. This is something that we use to, there we go. It manages our scripts, keeps everything together, everything working, makes sure all the stuff is in the right place for us. And let's save all this. Okay, so now we're all set up. We've cleared the platform. We have everything we need set up and configured. Now we can start writing code. Look, we're only 10 minutes into this and we're already writing code. That's fantastic. And we're going to go into the index page, the default home page for your MVC application. Let's go look here. We have some silly little things in here I'm going to get rid of. And I'm going to add a very simple control, EJ, call it the date time picker. Date time picker, and I'm going to give it a name, call it DT. Okay, and because the ID value is HTML, it doesn't show up, and you actually have to do it manually like this. And let's give this thing a value to start with, shall we? Value equals, and we'll pull out a date time. Let's go with now. Okay. So there we go. So now if everything works properly, I'm going to get a date time picker showing up, and it's going to start from now. And let's start this going, get it running, see what happens. I believe I've dotted my I's and crossed my T's, and the proof is about to show up here. And there we go, there's a date time picker. And we can change this if we want to go in and say, let's pick Christmas and say 1 o'clock a.m. And this is when Santa Claus comes to my house this year. Okay, alright, so anyway, we're done, we're up and running, we're good, we're cool. Let's go back and I'll show you one other thing. This is MVC. So, and this is CSHTML pages. You can add other controls. You can edit this to a large part. Yes, you can edit this. Okay. And okay, so we just added a chart to it. Let's save it. And let's watch that chart reappear. Let's watch that chart appear through the magic of rendering. There we go. This is our default chart for Syncfusion. If you see this chart in your application, that means you have not done your proper defining of the chart, and it's going to be doing something like this behind the scenes. Okay, So a simple chart, very, very simple sample. It does nothing useful. So let's stop this and let's add a requirement. So my boss has decided that he wants to show Excel files. He wants to have Excel type editing and a grid control in this application, on this web page. Okay, no worries, no problems. Let's go ahead and do that, shall we? And we have a little control called the spreadsheet control. Here it is. It looks like this. I've done zero configuration to this. We've just thrown it on the page. And let's go ahead and run it and see how it comes out. So this will give us a blank, and say home page is here. This still works. Fantastic. And here is our schedule. Here is our spreadsheet control. Out of the box, it does exactly what you expect a spreadsheet control to do. Let's put some text in here. And let's select this column. Let's maybe make it red. We can center the values. It does exactly what you expect Excel to do out of the box. Okay, to the tune even of formulas. So we can even add a formula here. And there's a lot of formulas you can pick from. I like some because I'm a very simple man and I understand how a sum works. So we'll pick a range of cells here and enter. So in this range, if I put, you can see the number increasing. There we go. So formulas work out of the box. Now, this is great. This is fantastic. Very cool. But you're just looking at JSON data. This is a JavaScript widget. It lives in a page in a DOM, and it expects JSON data to be given to it. And that's all it is. You can programmatically grab this data out. You can interrogate each cell and see what the values are. You can do all that. But we want to open an Excel file. So let's go back in here and let's add some bits to this so that we can open an Excel file. Okay, so I'm going to add in the bits here, some references to let it do that. Now what I've done, I have, there's a scroll setting that I've added just to give a height and width to the control. There's an import. It's going to map it to the Excel import, and there's some export settings so we can export to Excel, to CSV, to PDF. These links are to our demos, our online demos. These demos are public. You might be seeing them later. And each of these APIs are, when you download Essential Studio or if you download ASP.NET Core Suite, the sample, the project comes down that contains this web API. So you can see exactly how we did this. It's not that difficult, but I'm just putting the web API in here because it's really simple. It works out of the box. I don't have to think about it. And let's run it again now. So the page is going to load. Here it is. Let's go to About. And the spreadsheet's a little bit bigger. Okay. And let's load an Excel file, shall we? Let's pick this one. This is an invoice. This is a fairly common use case for people who are using our spreadsheet control or our XLSIO control. We have XLS, Doc, PDF, PowerPoint. All those controls, they're server-side controls. They actually live in .NET Core, whether it's ASP or not. It lives in the core. And so it can go to any device along with the core application that you build. And this is an invoice. The invoice is Excel. It is live. So if I decide that this 5 was really 50, then you're going to see the sums change. And he now owes us more money. So I need to resend him this bill. So we can save this, and we can also just export. We can print it out, and we can save it as a PDF. So we save it to a PDF. The PDF gets dropped down, and as I was playing around, I've done this a few times, so I do have 4 copies now of that PDF file. PDF gets dropped down, and then you could take it, you would email it to your customer, do whatever you need based on that, follow up with them, make sure you get the payment, And that was our spreadsheet control, and here's the magic behind it. Okay. That was simple, not too hard, not very scary. It looks, it looks very easy when I do it. So let's make this a bit more complicated yet, and we'll add a database. So the first thing for a database is to get my app data folder. That's not what I wanted. I want to add a new folder. There we go. Let's rename this sucker, shall we? Oh, hold on. Maybe I should stop the application. It usually helps if I stop the application. Okay, so now let's rename this folder. Here we go. We can call it app data. There we go. It goes to the top, and this guy right here needs to be gone. Okay. And he's gone. So app data, I'm going to add my database to here. Because this is a simple little sample, I have a simple little database I'm going to add to it. Okay, and there it is. Beautiful, lovely, awesome. Okay, so database is here. We have our control, we have our C, we have our V, we need the M. So let's come back and add our models folder. And into the models folder, I'm going to add a new object, a new item. And that new item is going to be a simple class item. And if anybody has any doubt what it's going to be named, I'm going to go with the default. Okay, so here's our model. And to fill this model, I'm actually going to just simply paste in something I had before. So it's here. So now we can see that a model's in. And I'm getting a lot of red squiggles. So I want to make the red squiggles go away. Let's add the Microsoft Entity Framework that I had before. That'll take care of the DB context, some of this stuff information. Now, because I set this up with a blank database and I wanted to go and create tables from my model, I create a model first, and then I create these models can be, use your scaffolding. You can push it back into a database, create tables from it. You have your attributes here. So to use that, I'm going to need to add the system attributes using system.component model data annotations. Data annotations is what I meant to say, not attributes. There we go. And that's going to give me the key, but this one here is going to need a little bit more definition. Oh my gosh. System.component model, data annotations, schema. Alright, so now the data model is up, it's working, no more squiggles. It appears to be work, and IntelliSense is happy with me. Our model's done. Very, very simple. Okay, let's save this, and we'll close you, and we'll close you, and we'll close you. So, model's done. We now have the M, the V, and the C. So we're all good to go. We have a true MVC application. Let's go. The next step is into our startup.cs. In here, there is a iService collection. And the iService collection lets us create a services that are going to be used throughout the application. And for this service, I'm going to make a database service, connection service. And here it is. So DB context is added. And there's a lot of red squiggles. So let's go back up here and let's do a couple things. Let's add the webinar last models. So the sales data, sales contacts will unsquiggle for me. And there he goes, it's unsquiggled. SQL Server is still here. So I'm going to need to make SQL Server unsquiggle. And that is accomplished by using the handy dandy Entity Framework. And that's where that came from. Now there's one last thing, the env object. And if you look web root path, that looks suspiciously like something you've seen before. and I am going to put it here. So iHosting environment v, and because iHosting environment comes at startup, but it stays in this class, it stays in this method. Let's I do need to make it more global to the project, to this class. So let's do that here. Okay, beautiful. Now you get to see that this env is similar to what the app data, app.data.path. This is now how you're going to get to that. So if you need to know the actual folder directory of your application, this is how you get to it, and this expects it to be in the app data.mdf. So here's where the database lives. And we're cruising so far. We have everything set up. Well, two more things we have to set up. Let's go into our view, and let's tell our view that we actually have a model to use. And we need to tell it to be using webinar last dot models. So okay. So we are using webinar last.models, and I'm going to retype that for you. So we're going to come in here to our index.html page, and we need to add the idea of our models. Okay. And let's come in here and explicitly tell it that there is a model. The model is an iList of sales data. Okay, so we have defined, say we're using the models, the models is something that can be used, and defining what the model is. Let's put some space in here. So everything's here. The view now expects a model to come to it, and let's go into the controller, something we haven't seen yet, and actually put a model into the controller. That's always a fun thing to do. Alright, and to do this, a couple things we need to do. We need to add webinar last.models, make sure it knows those models exist. And then we have to, a couple more things we have to add. Let's add the public home controller, and I wanted to get the sales context. I'm going to call it context just for sake of convention. Okay, and we are going to do something above this. I'm going to create a sales context object using the underscore context. Again, I am a convention follower. Equals. Okay, so now we know. Now this controller is going to get a context when it loads, and now this sales context is going to be available within the class as a whole. So the index is where all this is going to occur. In the index, I want to create a variable. Okay, the variable result is going to be some link query. So I want to go from X in the context object dot sales data, and I want to order this because my data does not come ordered. This is it's a collection of sales, and the sales all have a date value, but the date value is not in order. It's all random. So to show a chart, I need to put the data in order so I don't have the lines going back and forth looking really bad. Okay. X.date, and I'm going to select X. Okay. So I have my result. I'd run query, and for this, and then in my view, I need to take my result and save it to a list. Okay. This should do it. this should take it. I should get my go get my data, bring it in, do a little bit of sorting on it, order it anyway, and then send it down to the view as a list, and then the view should take it up here as a list, and now there's a model in my view, and I should be able to do something with that model. Alright, and at this point I'm going to come in and paste in a little bit of information here. I'm going to copy paste a big chunk and then talk about it. So a couple things I did here, and I'm going to close the script and not look at that for a minute. I've added a range navigator control. Range navigator is a very cool little control. I like it a lot. It's one of my favorites. And it actually, yeah, okay. And a range navigator, here's some properties set for it. Here is an event. Every time the range is changed, you're going to run this event. Allow snapping is where that thumbs work, and we can talk about that later. And then the range navigator is actually a chart. There's a chart inside of it, and that's how it started. It began its life as a chart and then grew to be the range navigator it is today. Okay, and we're setting some properties here. So we're doing some binding. It's binding to the model. We're giving it the X and the Y. These are the fields that we're pulling out of. And we're giving it a name. We're not putting any animation on it. And then there's some other values that we're setting here that aren't super important. We also have added a chart, ej.chart. On load, it's going to do a chart load. This event's going to be fired when it loads. I'm setting some primary axis is days, then sales in dollars, and here is my series. So a chart can have multiple series. This particular series is a line type. The data source is a model. And then X and Y values are defined this way. Okay, so this is straightforward. Makes a little bit of sense. Let's go look at the scripts. This is the chart loaded event. On chart loaded, I'm setting a start date and an end date value within this function. And then if it's chart loaded, then we're going to take the actual chart and define some zoom positions. Zoom position, zoom factor. And on chart load, we are going to set the zoom position to this. So when the chart loads, it's going to do this. And the zoom position that was defined by the navigator is going to be mapped to the chart. And well, that's how it should work. Let's see if it actually does work that way when I click run. And it appears like it did. So we look, we have the range navigator. This now, if I had that, you remember that snap property? If I set that snap property, let's go back and look at that real quick. The allow snapping. If we tell it to allow snapping, really it should be force snapping is what I think it should be called. But allow snapping would make this thumb here snap to the nearest dividing line. It would snap to this line. Wherever I let go, it would snap to the nearest line. And I really don't like that behavior, so I disable it. But this is how the range navigator works. It's pretty slick, pretty fun, pretty interesting, and all that. You zoom in nice and tight, and you get these lines. Okay, and that was a very much more busier sample. Sample got a bit more complicated, adding the database, adding the model, the connections, all this. It's still not as complicated as something you'll deliver in real life, but it's a cool little sample. And I'm going to go ahead and end my portion of the webinar now. Everything that I've done, everything that I've built for you here will be available, and wherever the video of this webinar is, somewhere near it, you'll be able to download this sample and play with it yourself. And I'm going to go ahead and give this back to Whitney now, and she can proceed to the next step.
Okay, thank you, Chad. So while we're going through the questions, I would like to tell you a little bit about our flat fee license. So that includes access to the Essential Studio for ASP.NET Core, which you've just seen demonstrated. And that also includes access to the entire Essential Studio suite with more than 800 controls for developing on desktop, web, and mobile. It also gives you access to the full use of our enterprise solutions. So the big data platform, the dashboard platform, our new data integration platform, everything's included, one flat fee, unlimited number of users. So you're just completely free to use everything. For smaller companies with revenue under $1 million, all of this is available for free on a community license. You can check that out on our website. And then for companies with revenue over $1 million, we do have pretty affordable annual pricing model. So thank you everyone for joining us today. It's been really great to have you here. We hope you enjoyed the demo, and please watch your email inboxes for a follow-up email with a link to the recording. Thanks again for your time and interest, and we'll see you next time.